Comfort, a state of physical ease and freedom from pain or constraint. Think of a pillow, or a bed or a lounge chair. This is where I think of comfort. Rest, relaxation, not associated with productivity. So when I think of comfort and productivity, they definitely clash. And I think it's important to realize that there is a time for comfort and uncomfort. So the second definition they give us is the easing or alleviation of a person's feelings of grief or distress. Now, this is more psychological in terms of the definition. The first one was more physical. So this is important, grief and distress, to see comfort in some situations, like a loss or heartbreak or something like that that's really changing you, very big events. But in your day to day, I do not believe that we should always just be seeking comfort. And I think a lot of people could agree with this. It's a challenge because, your limbic system, which seeks pleasure and comfort, that it's hard to fight that. And but it's vital to growth as a person. So an example of this is, let's say you have a coworker or a friend, and you notice that they could be, doing more. Maybe you notice that they're comfortable in what they're doing and they're just doing their thing. Um, and you decide to confront them. So when that person is confronted, they're automatically in an uncomfortable situation because, who wants to be confronted about being too comfortable? And throughout the conversation, you can imagine how it would go. Um, they'll already be making excuses and finding ways to put them back in their comfort zone. So they're stopping it before it even grows. Growth is exponential. It goes like this. So if you're cutting it off here, you're not going to get here. It's not going to happen. So don't be that person that when you find yourself in the situation of comfort, whether you're realizing that you're too comfortable, or someone else is telling you, if someone else is telling you that, that's a sign. But regardless, whoever's telling you, yourself or someone else, and you find yourself making these excuses, stop, listen, reevaluate, think. Especially for ambitious people with huge goals, people with ambitions, and you want something to accomplish, maybe you even have something to prove. You cannot seek comfort. I mean, that is the opposite of what you're trying to do here. If you're sitting back chilling, in your groove, playing some video games, eating some chips and stuff, you're not going to get there. You're not going to achieve those goals. And you got to decide, what's more important. And Robert Frost said, "I took the path less traveled, and that made all the difference." I mean, that is a super famous quote, and it's true. All these guys and women that achieve greatness, how do you think they did it? I mean, they did not sit around with their ambition and that's it. That's not what it takes. It takes the ambition, which is part of it. That's it's a good start. And then they just ran with it. They ran within, went, and look at them. Those are the people that shaped our society. And even Jordan Peterson said, "The path with the most responsibility yields the most reward." Once again, another brilliant mind telling us literally, how this works. Um, the growth will never come unless you step out of your comfort and actively seek it. You have to literally look for the uncomfort. You have to crave it. It's not just a want, it's a must. And if it's not a necessity, your brain is not going to prioritize it. It's going to prioritize what it wants, which is, easy life, pleasure, all these things, that literally biologically is what your brain wants. But you have to make these priorities something that your brain craves. You have to make it a necessity, because your brain will prioritize a necessity. So if you make it a necessity, there you go, mind body connection, you're all good. And you got to take these ambitions and you got to make it so you can't live without them, and then your brain will prioritize it. You get the stamp of approval. Obviously don't go overboard, causing yourself mental or physical health problems, stress, anxiety, all these things, but make them important. That's another topic, keeping a healthy balance in life. But right now I'm just talking about this. Make them important. For example, Kobe Bryant. He's known for his mindset and his work ethic, as I would assume most people know. He's worked harder than some people say anyone. I don't know that, but he's definitely up there, the hardest workers. Even when he's a kid, even years younger than me, I'm 17. He would get up early, very early, and he would work. I mean, this kid got into the NBA at 17. The top basketball players in the world at 17 years old. That's how old I am. I mean, that's something insane to think about. And it's through this desire to get into the uncomfort, to seek the growth, because it's not just wanting to get uncomfortable. That's stupid. You need to get something out of it. So we seek growth. And the separation when he was with his peers, this was everybody else, and he just, as time went on, as the work continued to go, just, this is him. He's leaving. He's gone. He's way beyond everybody else, and that continued from being a kid to an adult, and then being one of the greatest of all time. Everyone's down here, and you're way up here. I mean, you can't argue with all this stuff that we see, all this evidence. I mean, that's just how it is. And the key is that his desire and his vision held more weight than the temporary pleasures. So what I like to say is comfort is temporary. In everybody's life, you will experience uncomfort. It's going to happen. You can't avoid it. So the comfort you may have now will not last forever. It just can't. It won't happen. That's how life works. So when you get into the uncomfortable situation, that's what defines you. So have you been praying for the uncomfortable situation that's inevitable anyway not to come, and then when it hits you fall apart? Or have you been working diligently so that when it happens you're okay? This is just like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. This is it. Have you worked hard enough? Have you proven yourself? And get used to being uncomfortable so that you'll never fail. Because in uncomfort, when you're already used to it, you're fine. Smooth sailing. You're okay. Even more growth for you. You might even see uncomfort as a positive. You say, hey, this is an opportunity. Let me use it. And this can go for anything. Say you're a nervous speaker. Putting yourself in social contexts, and soon enough, you won't be nervous. You just got to keep doing it, and you'll get better. It's just like a test. It's just like a test in school. At the beginning of the chapter, if you took that test, it's uncomfortable. You're not familiar with the material, you're going to fail it. But when you practice it over and over, you keep getting into those situations that you don't know the answer to. And then you work on that. What happens on test day? You pass the test. Okay. It's really just a matter of looking at this stuff. It's pretty simple, Nothing too profound going on over here. So, this is why this philosophy of seeking uncomfort works. It works for ambitious and non-ambitious people, because not everybody has insane goals that they want to reach. It holds value for both sides. So like I said, for ambitious people, it enables you to achieve those high goals, Kobe Bryant level, like I'm gonna be the best. Or even those people less inclined to have wild dreams. It helps you take on life, with control and volition. You can grab the bull by the horns, and you're not going to falter under pressure. And so, if you're caught in habits, if you're playing video games and you're doing drugs, stop for a second and think. Re-examine what you want. Look at your goals. What do you need to achieve them? What do you need to get there? Cut out those things that you don't need, those things that are dragging you down, and then work your hardest for those things that you do need. Be better than everybody else there, or at least try to. Because they say there's always someone better. Well, just try. Because if you just live your life saying there's going to be someone better, are you really even living? What are you doing then? You're not going to want to do anything. But trust me, people are lazy. They're not going to work as hard as they could and should. So if you're automatically set up to be better than a vast majority of people. And in my mind, that's already success, and then you can go further with it. Lastly, I want to discuss uncomfortable thinking. So we started with the definition of uncomfort, physical uncomfort, and then I went into uncomfort and sort of doing things, and kind of mindset. And this is uncomfortable thinking. You must step out of the traditional thinking that keeps you holding on to comfort like a child to its mother, scared and, weak. It's a child. If you're holding on to that comfort, when it goes away, inevitably, are you going to be just a child, or are you going to be mentally strong and get through it? Some people will avoid those questions. You need to ask those questions that people will avoid. Look beyond your scope. For example, someone who works arduously on something like a business, they'll actually avoid the tough questions they need to ask themselves to get their business going. If that business is not yielding the right results, it's just not doing what you want it to. Even if you're putting in the effort, you got to stop and you got to reflect. And this is very hard for some people because they can't embrace the fact that something they're working on, something they love, is just not working. And they'll avoid those questions. They'll just keep going at it. It's like punching a brick wall. It's just not going to happen. And you need to look in yourself and apply the right tools to get through the challenge. And it's those tough questions that really provide the most growth. So, if you're putting all your effort into that business or that relationship and it just doesn't work, reevaluate, adjust. We're flexible people. We were born with bigger minds than all the rest of the animal kingdom for a reason. If it even means taking steps back, or getting rid of things or people that you don't want to let go of, that's where you have to consider. You have to evaluate. You have to look at all sides of it. You have to open up your mind. Even if it's uncomfortable to say, even I don't want to get rid of this person in my life. Maybe it is the right thing to do. I'm not saying it is, but it might just be. And that's where you have to think about it. And even in personal development, people avoid questions like, am I with the right crowd? Am I too unhealthy? What am I trying to accomplish? Questions like these are substantial questions, and people will even avoid these and go back to, the simple pleasures of life, not questioning what they're doing here. And it's also a matter of pride. Sometimes you have to get rid of that pride that masks your fear of discomfort. So you might think, yes, I have it all together, I'm good. And, sometimes you gotta go in your mind and you gotta say, no, I don't. You gotta let go of that pride, detach yourself, because you're really just scared of that discomfort. And so, even in regular mundane things, rather than these big, giant questions, maybe you have that figured out. I don't know, kudos to you then. But in things like arguments and conflicts in life, whether it be interpersonal, intrapersonal, or even just comparing things, step outside of your comfort zone once again. I feel like I've said that a billion times today, but that's, the key. Um, Obviously, going into any conflict, you're going to have a bias or a stance, which provides you with comfort. You're staying in your bias, and that's good. That's your thing. But if you really want to get a true, unbiased solution without ignoring anything, you must look at all sides equally. You have to try and see the value in everything. And so, let's say you have an argument with two sides or three sides, or you and somebody else, or anything, any sort of conflict. Build up all of the sides, because if it's a worthy argument, every side is going to have some merit. So build them up, see what's good about them, and then see which one holds the test. Maybe this side will, or maybe a combination of this side and this side will, seek the true answer, because that's where all the growth will come in. And you need to actively seek these answers to these hard questions or these arguments or conflicts, or else you're not going to get the growth. If you just ignore it, it's not just going to come to you. You have to actively think about it and seek it out. And once you've found the resolution to all these things, then the hardest part, act upon it. This is the hardest part for a very simple reason. Comfort is addicting. It just is. Your brain wants it. You're literally wired that way. Biologically, you will seek comfort over uncomfort. But, like I said earlier, you have to get your brain to prioritize this growth in whatever that means to you. You have to prioritize it. Because who doesn't want to be comfortable? It's like black and white, logic. It's like, okay, I'm going to choose to be comfortable, but then you look deeper and you say, where's the most growth? Where's the most potential? Where's all this? That's what makes us humans. We're multifaceted. It's quite interesting. And so you're gonna have to fight to get the growth and get the rewards, and you can do it. Most people, just like you, that are extremely successful, they took on the weight, they took on the responsibility, and you can do the same. You're a human, they're a human. It's all a matter of your mind. And if you're falling into that daily groove of unproductivity, you have to reevaluate, you have to change. And like Robert Frost said, I took the road less traveled, and it made all the difference. Thank you.